Hello, my name is Brian Higbee. I'm not an MD, a PhD, I'm not an Ivy League school alum. I'm just a guy. And I've been on this metaphysical journey, spiritual journey for the better part of 30 years. And yeah, I heard that recently YouTube did a change with their algorithms and they're trying to promote more smaller channels. So I've had a channel for a few years now. I only have 50 subscribers. Initially it was a filmmaking podcast where I would do YouTube videos just showing behind the scenes clips of movies and stuff like that. But then it switched about a year or so ago, switched to spirituality through meditation. The summer of 2023 I started to meditate. And prior to that, several years prior to that, I was studying Eastern philosophy, metaphysics, quantum mechanics, and a lot of new thought processes, consciousness over matter, quantum realm, photons, and all that. And I published a book recently called Metaphysics 101 by Dr. Gary Mullinex, which is the character I play in some of the films I've directed, Public Access to the Cosmos, Panacea, and Tom and Jerry's Repo Service, which are all available on Tubi, by the way. But I decided that I wanted to do a video that was pretty succinct, to the point, which is what I'm going to get to right now. But I wanted to just introduce myself in brief and let you know we're going to talk about the theory, essentially, of everything, the origins of everything. And we're going to discuss, everybody's always asking, why am I here? Is there a purpose? What's my plan? You know, and we're going to cover all that today. Okay? Okay, so to begin with, we start at the beginning, which is the quantum field. Some Eastern philosophies call it the Akashic field, and some people call it the quantum field, some people call it source energy, some people call it the Godhead, heaven, whatever you want to call it. It's the foundation, the fundamental foundation of all energy is in the quantum state. Quantum being the smallest fundamental beginnings of energy. Within this quantum field, there are energy generators that oscillate. These generators are called photons. And these photons create packets of energy that they then send into the three-dimensional sphere, which is the sphere we all inhabit when we're living in time and space, through matter. My belief is that every human being that comes from the quantum field, every human being that comes from this field is connected directly to photons. So human psyche is directly connected to photons. And I think that every human being in existence in every single multiverse that's ever existed or ever will exist, everything that, all the psyches that exist in the quantum field, Akashic field, are connected to photons. And photons are like a tunnel generator that our psyches are connected to. And our psyches are the vibrational frequencies that determine what those photons produce as far as energy goes. So we go from photons to human psyche. Well, the human psyche is a quantum computer. It's an electromagnetic pulsating computer. So we have vibrations, which is just another word for information. We have frequency, which is just another word for emotions. vibrations or thoughts create electrical charges, currents. Our frequency, our emotions create a magnetic current. And when you have an electromagnetic current that's complete, it's a closed circuit. Closed circuit. Then you have what's essentially a creator-generated electrical micromatrix. So essentially what you're doing is your thoughts are the vibrations. That's the bit of information that's electrically charged. That exits us, goes into the quantum field. It connects with the photons, photon generator of electricity. Our emotions are the frequencies that were attached to those thoughts. So if we have a strong emotional attachment to those thoughts, the magnetic frequency that we're operating on will draw those thoughts to us in a three-dimensional form. Now, the way they draw it to us is basic engineering. If you have a closed circuit, electricity can flow. If you have a broken circuit, electricity cannot flow. So in order to have a closed circuit, you have to have mind-heart cohesion. So you have to have thought electrically charged. You have to have a heart, which is a frequency, which is a magnetic frequency. Those have to be linked in order for your desires to achieve matter. And they achieve matter when they create this closed circuit, this electromagnetic charge, electromagnetic circuit. This charge creates a pole for neutrons and electrons. This is an atom. Atoms create, or when atoms collect, they become matter. So just to review, this is the basics. So everything starts with a quantum field, which is a wave form to start with. So that's important. So when it's in its potential form, it's in a wave form. The minute we, as external humans, which are still connected to the source, when we start projecting our thoughts into the field, connecting with photons, those photons then, as acting as energy generators, create the matter in our life. So with that electromagnetic closed circuit, that electromagnetic closed circuit is like a micro-creator, a micro-generator of matter. So your thoughts, being electrically charged, activate this. Your heart, which is the frequency, which is a magnetic pole, pulls it into your life. So that's why they, all these life coaches talk about you have to have a strong emotion attached to your desire. So you create a desire, which is a thought, a vibration, electrical vibration. You attach a very strong emotion to that, and that very strong emotion is a frequency, a magnetic frequency, which will pull into your life the matter that you put into the field through electromagnetic charges, through atoms that create matter. Now, the important thing, too, is like every person is like a snowflake. We're like a fingerprint. We are unique. We have a unique vibration to us. Frequencies kind of can alter based on your emotional state, but vibrations are very unique to you as an individual. So you do have a reason for being here. You are an individual and you have a reason for being here. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But this is the basics of how reality is created. You've got the quantum field, which is in waveform. When it gets connected with photons through our psyche, then it becomes particle form, or atoms through protons, neutrons, and electrons. Because if we have a electromagnetic closed circuit, we have a electricity and magnetism flowing, which is going to send out the idea into the field. Then the magnetism is going to pull it back to us. Electromagnetic circuit, closed circuit, That's how reality is created. That's how matter is manifested. So when people talk about where your thoughts go, energy flows, that's exactly it, right? Because we're all energy, and our thoughts create the vibration, and our emotions create the magnetism. So that's the basics of creation. Okay, I mean, it's simplified and, kind of dumbed down, because like I said, I'm not a PhD. But, so the next step, and this is where things get really interesting. If you understand this, then the next step is really fun. Because we have something called the macroverse, and we have the microverse. So if you think of life, and life can be harsh, there's no doubt about it. But if you think of life as a game board, right? You think of life as something where you're an avatar, and you have a higher state of consciousness. And that higher state of consciousness, which is connected to the field, that higher state of consciousness, before it manifests into the three-dimensional space, creates a plan for you. That's your life plan. Now, somebody says, well, why am I here? Well, I don't know why you are specifically set, what your vibrational frequency is, but the game board is the same, and the avatar is the same for everybody. So here's how the macroverse and the microverse breaks down, okay? So the macroverse is it's the core board. It's the board that we play on. And it has dimensions. So you've got the macroverse, which starts with Dharma. Dharma is the flow of the universe. It's how everything is supposed to go, right? Then we can call it a soul plan or a life plan. That's your goal on this plane, this microverse, this universe. You have a soul plan, and that's your goal of what you want to achieve. You create intuition in order to stay on that path, because intuition tells you what's right and what's wrong. It doesn't tell you what's moral and what's amoral. It tells you what's right and what's wrong based on your soul plan. So you design this soul plan at a higher state of consciousness before you're born into this three-dimensional space. You create this soul plan, and this soul plan then goes into effect by following your intuition, not going away from your intuition, because the minute you leave your intuition, you do the opposite of what your intuition tells you to do. That's when you're into free will. Now, free will is a direct break from flow. So you are taking an intentional step away from the flow of the universe or your soul plan. The minute you decide you want to do something that's more pleasurable than more intuitive, that's when you're into free will. That's when you've broken the mold and you're doing something that's going to keep you in the karmic cycle. So, and that's where karma comes in. Now, karma isn't a punishment like a lot of people think. The karmic cycle is essentially a reset button for when you don't do what you're supposed to do, what your higher state of consciousness sets for you. So you have a higher state of consciousness. That higher state of consciousness has a plan for you. And that plan is what it intends to achieve or experience in this three-dimensional space. It's thought about it. It's a higher state of consciousness. It's smarter than your avatar, your human body. So, and it gives you intuition. You have to develop the intuition. The intuition then will link into synchronicities in life, and you will fulfill your life's goal. So you will fulfill the flow state of Dharma and your soul plan. And then, boom, you break that karmic cycle. Karma will extract you from the three-dimensional space. It's like when you die, it's like taking a virtual headset off or a virtual suit off, and your pure consciousness escapes from the three-dimensional game board, which is Earth. It goes back into the field of energy, and it reassesses what this avatar wasn't able to achieve. And then it goes through the process again. It swipes and it says, oh, I like this couple. Maybe I can be birthed into them. I think they have a better chance. I have a better chance of achieving that life goal or that soul plan if I go with these people. So you create another avatar through this couple. You're born again, and that's the karmic cycle. So every time you break away from the flow and intuition, you go against intuition, you go with like what's pleasurable, because we'll get to that in a minute, but every time you go away from that, you don't fulfill that soul plan, you're stuck in the karmic cycle, and maybe that's fun for you. Maybe you just want to keep coming back. That's up to you. So that's the game board. Dharma, which is the flow of the universe, your soul plan, which is your goal of why you came here, intuition, which is your primary tool to stay in that soul plan, free will, which is when you break away from the flow state, and karma, which brings you back in another avatar for another game. And that's how the whole flow works. So that's the macroverse, so that's the game board. Then we have the microverse. So the microverse is your avatar. So that's you as, in my case, Brian Higbee. So we have a conscious mind, and we have a subconscious mind. So, and there are variations to other people's philosophies and all that, psychology, whatever. But we're going to focus on the conscious and the subconscious. So the conscious mind is the programming mind. It's the mind that actually programs your psyche. It's the three-dimensional mind. It's the interface, let's call it, interface with a three-dimensional reality. It has 5 senses. It has taste, touch, smelling, seeing, and hearing. Those are the 5 interfaces with the three-dimensional space around you. So you've got that. The conscious mind is really only engaged maybe 10% of the day, 10% of your life. You can increase that through different practices like getting into a meditative state, becoming much more alpha, becoming in the alpha state, meaning being in that more powerful state of consciousness where you're in a parasympathetic system, where you're relaxed, you can think, you're in the moment, you're not worried about the future, you're not, suffering the traumas of the past, and we'll get to that in a second as well. But if you're in that conscious state, that momentary, in-the-moment state, you're in a very relaxed state. Because the only time you go into a fearful state or an anxiety state is usually when you go into your subconscious, the memories or the thought of the future. That will lead you down a path of fear, which you want to avoid at all costs. So that's that. The conscious mind is, say, I'm being generous and saying 10% of the time, right? The conscious mind is, say, 10%. The subconscious is the auto-program. Auto-program, whatever. And that's 90% of what runs your life. So the conscious mind is an outside mind. It's a mind that interfaces. It's fully active with the world around it. It's a filter mind, the conscious mind. So whatever comes through the conscious mind gets stored into the subconscious in the core memory banks. And that core memory creates your belief, which creates your thoughts, which creates your actions, and creates your life, essentially. And usually what happens is when you break from being in the present time, you start going into thoughts about the past, the future, what you're going to do for dinner tonight, you're no longer in the conscious state of in the moment. You're going back into the subconscious, and the subconscious takes over, and it's an auto program, and it runs like your life. This is why, like, a lot of times when people are driving home from work or something, they can't even remember driving home because they've been in auto mode the whole time. They've been back in their thoughts the whole time. And the subconscious kicks in and starts running things. And the subconscious can be a great thing if it has the right stuff stored in it. The problem is, through behavioral psychology, they talk about how from the third trimester of life, that's when the baby's mind starts to engage with its environment, up until the age of about 7. That child's consciousness is in a theta state. It's an escalated, elevated learning state. And all the filters are open. Taste, touch, smelling, seeing, and hearing. All those filters, which become much more sensitive and close down over the course of your life and become much more, selective, are completely open for the first 7 years of your life, from the third trimester up until the age of about 6 or 7. Everything you experience, the traumas, the love, the joy, the fear, all of that gets stored into your subconscious original core program. That subconscious program then designs your entire future. 60% of that subconscious program is limiting beliefs given to you by other people. You've got two conditions here. You're conditioned by genetics, and that's a wide field because you're talking about inherited genetics from traits from, generations beyond that are handed down. Not just physically, but psychological traits that are handed down. Societal traits that are handed down. Then you've got your environmental traits, your direct impact of, going to school, the teachers that talk to you, like if you go to church, your priest or whoever you meet there, law enforcement, your parents, your siblings, all of those people help to craft your life and your perspective on life. And what happens is 60% of what they're telling you is their own limiting beliefs, and they're imprinting that onto you. So here's the hijack. Here's the cheat code for the game. The cheat code is to go into that subconscious mind and re-imprint. The primary way humans interface with the world around them is by the emotion they apply to any given event. Something happens and you apply fear or love, and you're going to remember that event depending on the intensity of that emotion. Your core memories have a stored emotional attachment to every one of those memories. If you were abused as a child, you're thinking of that abuse even now. Because here's the thing about the subconscious. It's a basement mind. It's a stored program mind. It doesn't have a window to the outside world. It can't see what's actually transpiring. It can't. It doesn't. It only takes in what the conscious mind gives it to come in, and, allows in through the filters. That's it. And it runs the auto program based on all the stuff that your conscious mind gave it. So if you're not aware that this is how the mind works, your avatar, your consciousness works, you can't jack up the game. You can't get the cheat code. But if you do, you understand that the conscious mind has programmed the subconscious. The subconscious creates your belief, which creates your thoughts, which creates your actions, which creates your life. Then you can backtrack, and you can, behavioral psychologists talk about this, where you go into deep regression hypnosis, where you pull up old memories of traumas, and you remove the fear or the anxiety from that trauma, and you imprint a new emotion to it. It changes the person's life. Because if you change your beliefs, you change your thoughts, and you change your actions. Everything, belief is core. Belief is core, and it's in your core. So you've got to dive down into your core. So how do you do that? Well, there are some mindful techniques like contemplation, visualization, and then reaching a meditative state where you're detaching, you're closing off that filter left side of the brain, and you're allowing the right creative side of the brain to flourish, to open up. And that's when you get into a meditative state, we'll get to this. When you get into a meditative state, you are detached from the world around you. You are detached from the physical reality, and it feels like you're floating. You could be like floating in the clouds, you could be floating in a pool, you could be floating in a nice tub, warm tub, but you're not feeling attached to your body. So here's the thing. So we go back to the field, quantum field, right? So this is the fundamentals of how all of this dynamic works anyways. So the fundamental truth is that everything comes from the quantum field. The photons within the quantum field are energy generators that are directly connected to our psyches. And our psyches are operating at a specific vibration frequency, which is thought and emotion. Your thoughts create your world around you. So it's so important that your thoughts, which are dictated by your beliefs, if you're not happy with your life, if you're miserable, that you make sure that those core memories, which create your beliefs, are changed to service you. So here's a basic outline of how this works. So just using the techniques of contemplation, let's start with that, because there's technically three things here. So contemplation is when you go into, you can lay down comfortably with no pressure points on your body. You're just comfortable. You can detach by putting on headphones, putting on white noise. That's what I like to do. I like to lay in a comfortable bed with my headphones on, with some white noise. Or if you're comfortable sitting up, sitting straight up, a lot of people like that. But what you need is quiet. You need the ability to just focus on specific tunnel vision thoughts. Contemplation allows you to pick the core thought that you want to manifest. In this case, we want to change certain things, so you're going to choose what you want to change in the contemplation state. Remember, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's actually happening in a three-dimensional space and what's happening through the conscious mind, what the conscious mind puts in it. And this is where visualization comes in, because visualization creates a sensory-based reality of what you want your life to be, how you want your life to change. But remember, you have to, when you do your visualization, you have to do it in the present tense. Do not say, I want this, I want that. Say, I'm living it. And this is how I feel. Because let's go back to the closed circuit engineering here, right? The closed circuit aspects of this deal with the electromagnetic current. Electrical current is thought, the desire of the change. The magnetic current is the strength of the emotion you apply to that visual reality. So your visualization, if you do it right, if your thought and your heart is connected, you've got a closed circuit. So the universe has no other opportunity but to give you what you want because you have that closed circuit. It's basic engineering of energy. Closed circuit, thought and heart cohesion with a visualization, because visualization is just a prop. It's something that you can create that allows you to connect an emotion to an actual event. You create a visceral reality, and that allows the cohesion between heart and mind. So visualization is number 2, very detailed, very emotional. Third is meditation, and meditation is an end result of the other 2. Meditation is when you get into a state of consciousness where your 5 senses, your interface with the three-dimensional world breaks down. And when you feel it, you will tell. It's like lucid dreaming, where you still are conscious of your environment, or you're conscious of your consciousness, but you're not feeling the attachment to your joints. You're not feeling the attachments to your muscles. You're just floating. You're floating in the soup of energy. And that's when you're in the meditative state. And that's when you start pulling up, because lucid dreaming, so you're still thinking. So you're activating those visualizations by dropping them into the field, the subconscious, which is connected. It's your direct conduit to the photons in the quantum field. The subconscious and what's stored in that are connected directly to the photon generators of energy that create the electromagnetic charge or distribute the electromagnetic charge of your thoughts and your emotions. And the electromagnetic charge that's shot out from the photons in the quantum field connect with our three-dimensional reality. How? Through creating this electromagnetic pole for protons, neutrons, and electrons that create the atoms that, based on your vibrational frequency, create the matter around your life. So, it's very important for you to be aware that you do this on a daily basis anyway, but now you can hijack it. So instead of being a victim to your core memories and your core beliefs, you can hijack them through contemplation, choosing what you want to change, visualization, illustrating what it feels like and what it's like to experience it, and then going into the meditative state where you can drop these visualizations through lucid dreaming back into the quantum realm, or the subconscious connected to the quantum realm, which then connects with your specific photon, which is your snowflake, your fingerprint in the quantum field. And that generator, oscillating eternally, will shoot out the energy through electromagnetic charges that create atoms based on your specific vibration, your thoughts, and your emotions, your frequencies. So that pulls it into your life. That puts it in the field, photons shoot it out, you electronically magnetize it to your life. So it's like the whole mirror principle. It's the law of attraction. Where your thoughts go, energy flows. Everything is energy. Everything's the quantum field, baby. Everything. So once you understand the engineering of this, the mechanics of it, and that you are a gifted generator, once you understand that, you can start taking control of it. And then you can stop blaming the outside world, because all the outside world is a reflection of your inside world. So if you're seeing things in social media that's hostile and horrible, and you're attracting that to you. You're attracting it to you. And people don't want to hear that. People want to hear that they're at fault and I'm not at fault. The truth is, you are at the core of your beliefs is what's at fault for the reality that you're experiencing. So you have to sort of chill out. You have to do this practice. And I guarantee you, once you do this practice, you're going to be a lot happier. And it's going to change your life. And it's going to change everybody around you. Because the energy field, the energy flow of what you've changed connects with other people. It's like the cliche of the dropping a stone in the pond, and it's the ripple effect. It's the same thing. It's all connected. We're all connected. And I mean, we can go deeper into the meaning of source and why source creates all the vibrational frequencies to manifest, everything. But I don't even want to go there, because it's not even necessary for you to. You just need to understand the mechanics of how the energy flows, how you can control that energy. But you have to go into that core memory and change the beliefs. That will change your thoughts, and that will ultimately change your actions. So this is Brian Higbee, a.k.a. Dr. Gary Mullinex. And I hope to see you in the next podcast. Thank you, and have a great day.